Welcome, my viewers. I want us today to analyze the book Fathers of Nations, a compulsory novel that is done by our students in school. This book, Fathers of Nations, is authored by Paul B. Vita, and the publisher is Oxford University Press. The year of publication is 2013. Fathers of Nations is an interesting and very thought-provoking novel that uses satire to explore current issues in Africa. So Paul B. Vita uses a lot of humor and sarcasm to show the social, economic, and political problems in African countries. If you look at this novel, you find that the continent is still struggling with the post-independent problems. For example, we have poverty, ignorance, and diseases. But instead of these problems getting solved, the states have new entrants, which are equally retrogressive to the inhabitants of the African nations. So we have a lot of corruption and impunity as depicted in the book. The continent is hence depicted as having lost sense of direction and moral correctness. And the plot revolves around the lives of four men from different parts of Africa. And these men have suffered personal losses due to the incompetentness and corruption of their governments. Despite their differences, they come together to oppose Way Omega, and they advocate for an alternative plan, which is called the Path Alpha, which prioritizes people-centered development. So, men like Professor Karanja Kimani from Kenya is a university lecturer who loses his job after refusing to alter exam results for a politician's son. Another character is the comrade Gombile Melusi from Zimbabwe. This is a former freedom fighter who feels betrayed by the government he helped to establish, which has since developed into corruption and oppression. We have Pastor Chineke Chiamaka, Nigeria. This is a religious leader who grows disillusioned with the church's inability to address societal challenges like poverty and corruption. We also have Dr. Afolabi Abiola. This is a lecturer at the University of Ibadan in Nigeria. He is abandoned by his American wife, Pamela. And these men share a common frustration with African leadership and desire to make a difference. So these four above stated men, they have initially suffered different ways under the current political systems in their respective countries. So this has made each and every one of them to hold a grudge against the same systems that affected them, and hence starts to press for a possible change. Dr. Abiola Afolabi is abandoned by his American wife, Pamela. Professor Kimani from Kenya has lost his wife, Asia Omondi, to a former university colleague, now a politician by the name Newborn Walomu. His daughter Tuni dies in a fatal accident. And we have Pastor Chiamaka, who is a fierce man, who is jailed for his outspokenness against the government and also deterred from preaching. And finally, we have Ngombile Melusi, who is a big-time politician and suffers in the hands of the new heads of state. No, he loses his wife Ziliza in a massacre, and his Ndembele people are ruthlessly suppressed and murdered by the heads of states. Direct orders. To add on that, these 4 men, we also have Engineer Saif Tahir, who is a nuclear bomb expert. So Mr. Thaddeus Longway are also dissatisfied by the African leadership, and they are assisted by VOA journalist Fiona Mackenzie and Nicholas Sentinel, who in one accord, they plan to front their agenda before the head summit held in Gambia's capital of Banjul. Then we have a summit of the heads of state, a summit of the heads of the African states planned to take place in Banjul, the capital of Gambia. 50 heads of state are so invited, including the Gambian head of state, who is supposed to be the chair of the summit. But what happens? He passes it on to another president. And these heads of state are assembled and accommodated in the Pinnacle Hotel with their entourage. They look forward to readopt the way Omega ideology, which advocates for a common growth strategy of the citizens, which will enable the donors to continue supporting the African nations through aids and grants. And then we have the ideologies fronted by the Minister Zintu, who is even claiming that the strategy was well thought out by experts. The majority of the African states, or the majority of the heads of states seems to be 8, and they have overstayed in power. A good example, we have President Didier Bangura, who is depicted as a senile. Bibo Bibonso, who has ruled for 40 years, can refer to page 157, and we have King Jemba, who was a king for life. President Wasi, who had committed all sorts of atrocities, including authoring many coups and many others. The Path Alpha, a counter-ideology emanating from AGDA, Agency for Governance and Development Africa, which is championed by Mr. Thaddeus Longway, finds its way into the heads of state summit. Mr. Longway mobilizes the likes of Professor Kimani, Comrade Melusi, Pastor Chiamaka, Dr. Afolabi, and Engineer Tayo to use the trick to table the ideology before the summit to counter the way Omega. Path Alpha is a strategy that advocates for mobilizing civic and public discounted into change. So this strategy is to solve the problems some present heads of state finds it difficult to solve. And we have the advocates of Path Alpha champion the strategy because they want to solve the problems, and owing to the fact that they have also suffered the ugly state abuse and do not want to suffer anymore. The summit comes to a close in an unprecedented way by the fathers of nations, setting up a committee to bring the matter into conclusion. And the committee set is given the name the Method Committee, which is chaired by President Bangura, who seems to be terribly confused because of senility. He therefore uses two ways to make a decision on which strategy to be rectified: the simple matrix by a toss of a coin and a choice matrix. Ultimately, either way, the Path Alpha carries the day, meaning the common citizens wins. And that brings us to the end of the summary of Fathers of Nations. Thank you.
Good afternoon, viewers. Welcome to JAP Sports channel, where we are going to discuss issues that are emerging in the world of sport. And my name is Omoro Alfredo, and I have my panel here. Each and every one of them is going to introduce himself. Welcome.
Thank you, Alfredo. I'm Peter Check.
Thank you, I'm Yala Regan.